Good evening, everybody, and welcome to WNR. It is the Baku City Circuit tonight. Just currently waiting for some of the drivers. Who are we waiting for? We are awaiting a hash driver before we begin tonight's action. I believe we are still waiting on one more driver before we begin. I believe we are almost ready to go. Hello to the viewers that are joining us. I believe we are just waiting to ready up the session and we will be going. As we can see now, the drivers are readying up, which means we'll be getting underway very shortly. So yes, good evening everybody, we are now ready to go. Welcome along to RRC's coverage of WNR as we hit the Baku city circuit in Azerbaijan. This circuit is 3.73 miles long and is the second longest circuit behind Spa. Famous for the castle section, one of the tight areas of this track and its proximity to the walls. Baku offers a great challenge. For any of you that are interested and follow RRC, what a race there was last night in TNR at Spa. Several retirements and a great race. So here we are as we load now into qualifying, and it is raining. This will provide an interesting test for the drivers, whether they decide on their setups whether it is going to be dry in the race. I don't know at this moment in time, but do they go for their dry setups or will they go with a wet race setup? We shall see. And I've just been reliably informed that is a dry race, so we shall see, we shall see. As many of you who watch RRC will know, we use a 3 full qualifying session format. There'll be an 18-minute to start, where we will lose the bottom 5 drivers. Q2 will then see us decide positions 11 to 15, with the top 10 drivers going into Q3. As we start to see the drivers now make their way out onto the track. So we shall see as we move on to the first car, which seems to be GFO Seb, who is also followed out by Regan. GFO Seb, unfortunately one of those drivers yesterday in TNR, hitting the wall. As we go there. The wet intermediate tyres fitted to most of the runners already. We already have a yellow flag. I hope that is just the car slowing down, which I believe it is. So you can see TX there. So we'll stay on board with Seb for a minute, and this is the interesting castle section. Nice tight line, close to the wall, but you don't want to catch that as that is dangerous. Ooh, a little clip of the wall there. You can see about 5 or 6 of the drivers are on their outlaps now. We are riding on board with Seb, who is the first of those runners. Slow into that corner. Usually in the dry race you will see a lot of that left hand curve taken. It does fling you towards the wall, but it also allows you to keep maximum speed through that corner. So here we go then, down the long straight, up into 7th gear in a minute. 6th gear in the way. 7th gear, 8th gear, and here we go, hitting 200 miles an hour as we go down the first straight here at Baku, building up to the tight left-hander for the first flying lap of this qualifying session. Downshift into 3rd gear, tight left-hand corner, open up the throttle on the right, back end sticks out just a slight bit there, bog down 2nd gear, tight to the wall but don't touch it, back on the throttle as we go through the second DRS straight. We're building up speed as you want to go into the tight left-hander, again just touching that curve into 2nd gear. See Seb goes up into 5th gear, back down to 2nd around this right-hander. Coming into sector 2, and a 40.6 is the first set time in sector 1 today. And here he is approaching this nice, lovely, aesthetically pleasing castle section here at Baku. Down into Veski. Oh, it's a little bit wide as we go in there. Back on the power. Again, tight to the left hand and right hand walls, but you don't want to go too close as they are deadly. 2nd gear. Around that section, 3rd gear, 4th gear. Into 6th gear. Be interesting to see how he takes this corner. Will he stick wide again, or will he try and take the curve despite it being wet? You can see he takes a little bit more of the curve, and as you can see, pushes him wide, just glancing the wall with his right front tyre. Coming to the end of sector 2, he's at 127, and then here we are back onto the final straight of Baku. What sort of time will be the benchmark and first run of Q1? Oh, and he's hit the wall. Ouch. Oh dear, oh dear. GFO Seb hits the wall. Does that ruin anybody's race and lap behind? I can't see just yet. We shall see, we shall see. I couldn't quite see there. Unfortunately, as you can see, GFO Seb has lost his wing for a moment. So he'll be back in, refuel and out for another lap in just a second, you would imagine. As you can see, other drivers, Dan Murphy on his out lap, Samuel in the Ferrari. Who have we got on a flying lap? Total P's, yellow flags in sector 2 again. As TINR only out goes fastest with a 1:53.4. Swiftly followed by Indigo with a 1:51. Just having a look, see who's going to be next. TH looks like he's coming down the back straight. What sort of time is he going to set as he approaches the beam? It is a 1:54.8. Oh, and we have a retirement of LPE, which I can only assume means he has hit the wall somewhere, but I cannot see. It appears on sector 2 exit he has caught it. It's an Alfa Romeo approaching, I believe. Yep, and we can see LPE has hit the wall there as we ride on board with Jono, who unfortunately has invalidated his lap first time. Oh, and he clips the wall as well. It's very tricky, that left-hander in the rain. As I said, you want to catch the curve in the dry, but maybe not so much in the wet. So as we go on board with Dan Murphy, as he approaches the castle section, shifts down into 2nd and 1st. Nice tight line through the right-hander. Again, close to those barriers, perfect line through there. Turns right, shifts the car left again. How early does he open up the throttle? Lovely wide line there as he approaches this. LPE's gone here just a moment ago. Some tight there from Dan as he approaches down into 3rd gear for the left-hander and opens up the throttle. What sort of time is he setting up? Currently Indigo is on pole with a 1:51. That is the fastest for this Q1 session. Remember, we lose the bottom 5 drivers, so positions 16 to 20. Sticking tight to that left-hand wall, Dan crosses the line with a 1:51.5, putting him 2nd in the timesheet so far. Still plenty of time, 10 minutes of the session left, 6 laps completed. Currently Indigo 1st, Dan Murphy in 2, TH 3, TNR 4, Total P's 5, NUF 6, with 14 runners still yet to set a time. Let's see if we can ride on board with young Stinson as he approaches the back DRS. Oh, and he loses it ever so slightly there. Whether he opened the throttle too quickly, we don't know. Samuel's approaching the start-finish line. What sort of time is he going to set with his first run of Q1? It's a 1:54.7. He may look at setting another lap in a minute. So now ride on board with GFO Seb, who starts his lap. great. Let's see if we can find a driver who is approaching. So Jonathan Cox is on an out lap. Where else have we got? He approaches the finishing line for Nosy in the Alfa Romeo. He crosses the line with a 1:53.8, which puts him P7. At this stage, with 9 minutes to go, qualifying lap times are okay. You would say maybe there is time for faster, and mistakes can still be made. As we see, Indigo has just retired from the session. Interesting to see what has happened there. I believe he has also lost it at the same place as LPE. Whether he's taken too much curb on the left hand side or lost it under braking, you do not know. I believe, yeah, his car's flying. I can only assume it's this section of the track, and we have another yellow flag in sector 1. I can only assume again that is for slowing down to allow other drivers through. On board now with Jim Strav as he approaches this section with all tight to the wall there. Is that going to impact his line as he comes down? We've already lost 2 drivers here. That's nice and tight around that corner. Car nicely pulling away there as he approaches the final turn almost. And now onto the back straight. Just gear looking to hit 200 miles an hour at your maximum. Oh, and he bucks off a little bit there because of drivers. So what sort of time is this going to be? I'm expecting it to be a little bit slower than the others, as I said. Yes, and he boxes and pulls out of the lap. So here we go, on board with Jonathan Cox as he starts his lap down into the first corner, nice and tight. Don't take too much curve. Open out the throttle wide as you approach this nice second-hand left-hander. Staying tight to the wall, back on the throttle. 4th gear, 5th gear, 6th gear. How close a line does he take on the left hand side? Nice, don't take too much to curb. Open out. Position your car ready for the tight right hander. Enter in 2nd gear around that section. Sets a 39.9 for sector 1. As we approach the castle section. Expected. It's nice and tight, again like we know the drivers. Don't take too much of the left hand curve or you hit the wall. Nice and tight around there, just gently using the throttle. As we come up now to the back straight, where we have lost a few drivers today already. LP and Indigo. Shifting down into 2nd gear, nice on the exit. Little bit of a kick from the rear there. As GFO Seb goes fastest with a 1:50.7. So after hitting the wall there in his first full hot lap, he has redeemed himself almost in his mind. As Jonathan loses it a little bit as he comes down the straight. What sort of time will this be from John? I think. He crosses the beam with a 1:52.9 and that puts him in P4. So 5 minutes to go in this session. Currently at risk we have got Jim Stradley, but as I've just seen, Evil Hunter is out. I can only assume again he has lost it on track. Looks like he has lost it on the back, and as we see the yellow flag as we ride on board with Fishers. Do we see a stricken car? Yes, there we are, the stricken car of Evil Hunter. I can only imagine he's lost the rear at some point there. As we see, Jim Strav is going on the softer compound of tyres. A very interesting choice there. Track looks very wet at the moment, so I'd be surprised as to what the thinking is behind that one. And you can already see the car twitching all over the place. So as I was saying before we lost Evil Hunter, the current bottom 5 is Jim Strav, Benny Boy, LPE who crashed out. BOP and Gem, who is yet to set a lap, and Evil Hunter, who has also crashed. So 3 drivers of the remaining will be lost in this session then. Indigo has crashed, so unless he can be beaten on time, he will not be joining the back 5. As we ride on board with Fishers, who is coming round the back straight. And young Stinson here about to come down the back straight for his first timed lap of this session. There's 4 minutes to go in Q1 here in WMR. Oh, again we lose another driver there, young Stinson. Maybe just a tad hard on the throttle. It's really proving to be tricky in these wet conditions for the drivers today. And we see Benny Boy has spun as well at the first corner. Probably misjudged his braking zone or lost his rear. So that is our 3rd driver to be lost. Young Stinson, LP and Evil Hunter all out without setting a lap time. Indigo, the other driver, to have been lost already, but he does have a time set. As we stay on board with Jim Strav around the final sector, and you can really see those soft tyres compound struggling in this wet conditions. Surely with 3 minutes to go his best option is to pit and put on the intermediate tyres. As we stay with him, we'll see what he decides to do. Yellow flags out in sector 1 again. Looks like it's just for a car letting people through. Oh, and Jim's stayed out and he's gone wide. Surely the right decision there was to put blinkers, but only he will know. Who's the Ferrari that's gone wide? Looks to be Total P's, yet letting cars through. You can see GFO Seb currently setting the benchmark with a 150.7, 8/10 clear of Dan Murphy in second, and ZNU F1 completes the top 3. So as we approach the last 2 minutes of this session, we will be looking for the drivers to be at least considering starting their first laps or coming out of the pit if they wish. As we ride on board with Samuel, who's about to start his flying lap, sticking right instead of left like most drivers decide to do, and he takes a tight left, taking a lot of the curve compared to other drivers. Back on the power as we approach turn 2, the tight 90-degree left-hander down into 2nd gear. Nice open wheel there as he back on the throttle. Samuel currently P9 with a 153.2. Nice and tight through this end of the first sector. So 40.3, so he is a 10th up on his previous best so far, but he loses it slightly there on the exit. As he approaches the castle section, how does he maintain this section? We shall see. Nice and tight on the right hand side, back on the power. Nice and tight through the left hand and right hand. Shift the car right, shift the car left. Back on the power. Through this lovely section where you can just keep the throttle on. Take a nice line. Braking into the left-hander. How much of the curve? Oh, he takes just a little bit too much as he taps the wall, but he still managed to run him down into 3rd gear for the final real corner of this circuit, and now on the power into the back straight. What sort of time will Samuel set? As we approach 10 seconds to go in the session, who is currently out on laps? Most people. GFO Seb and Total P is currently in the pits as Samuel goes 5th with a 152.7. Tiach retiring from the session, it's fine. Jim Strav looks to be setting a 2:42 on those soft tyres. It did look like he was going to struggle. I'm very surprised as Benny Boy goes 16th with a 158.6. Who else have we got approaching the finishing line? As we see some of the drivers who are there on their laps. Stringy coming around the back. He's currently P11. We approach the back straight. So it looks fairly certain that we have lost Jim Strav, but he is 4 seconds up on his time, although fortunately I doubt the soft compound of tyre was the right choice for this session. So we go on board with Regan. Oh, he taps the wall again. This back section looks very, very, very tricky for the drivers in these wet conditions. Power for this final section of the circuit. Up into 6th gear, 7th gear. Oh, grazing the wall with his left front tyre there. So we see a McLaren there. What time does Regan set? He is 3/10 up as he approaches the line, and he stays 14th with a 1:54 flat. So we are just waiting for Jim Strav to either complete his lap or enter the pits, but it looks fairly certain now that we have the first qualifying elimination. P16 is Benny Boy as he crosses the line, again stays 1:58. What time can Jim Strav set? He is already in the 2 minutes. So in Q1 we have lost Benny Boy, Jim Strav, who have both set times, and then hitting the wall we had Young Stinson, Evil Hunter and LPE. So that is Q1 over and done. As we can see, GFO Seb there with a 150.7. Dan Murphy with a 150.9. So the first sub 151 lap times of this race today. So usually as we approach Q2 it will be the next 5 positions 10 to positions 11 to 15 will be decided, but as you saw earlier we have lost Indigo, who hit the wall. So it will be the 11 to 14 with Indigo unfortunately starting P15. So for dry qualifying and dry races, Q2 would usually be where you set your starting strategy for the race, whether that tends to be soft tyres or medium tyres. But as this is a wet qualifying, it gives drivers a free rein for the race. So it'd be interesting to see what compounds they go for on the starting grid, whether they want to have a longer first stint on the medium or hards, or they decide to go early on for positions and take the softer tyres. But that is all to be seen as we now approach the 15 minutes of Q2. Who will be the first driver? As we see looks like a Renault and a Ferrari are entering there. Tiach also joins the party. So it's Tiach who arrives on track first, closely followed by GFO Seb and Samuel Wall. I can imagine at some point on this lap there will be, oh, as we see almost contact there between GFO Seb and Tiach. It'll be interesting to see who backs off and lets who get track position. Will they go for the toe in the rain? We are yet to see. And who else? If we see 6 drivers now on their out laps. BOPM in the Haas, Tiach, GFO Seb, Dan Murphy, Samuel, Total P's is out as well. As I said, vying for position with Zunu. I'm assuming that is for the toe as well. Very, very slow into this section here. You can only see, yes, as you see, yes, left another car through, as you see Regan is there. So we will ride on board with Tiach for the moment, as he will be the first driver to set a lap in this Q2 session here at Baku. Will we see anyone caught out by this corner again in Section 2? Remember, it's already claimed 4 drivers. this track 3 at that corner. Into the left-hander at the back section. Onto the back straight. As he hits 7th gear, 8th gear, approaching 200 miles an hour even in the rain. This is one of the fastest areas on the F1 calendar. 205 miles an hour, you can see there. Approaching the first left-hand corner. It's a very wide line on that entry and exit there. Down into the second left-hander at turn 2. On the throttle at the back straight. See GFO 7 there behind. As we approach the first sector end, what sort of time will be set by Tiach in this first sector? As he goes at 40.3. See if we can get GFO Seb. It's a 39.6, so already GFO Seb is faster in that first sector of this circuit. As Tiach comes round through, entering the castle section. Through the nice tight left, right hand section. Onto the back straight. Remember, we have lost 3 drivers already to this section. Let's hope Tiach is not one of the next ones. Nice tight line. Oh, he clips the wall and loses his end plate there. Not the first time we've seen that today, and probably not the last time we'll see that today. As he approaches, what will he do? Will he complete the lap, or will he dive into the pit lane? We ride on board through this last portion of the circuit. He stays left, but is that a pit lane left, or is that a lap? Yes, we see him back off. It looks like it will be a pit lane left. Seb Grain in a toe. Does he pull wide? Sticks left. Crosses the beam in a 1 at 51.4. Dan Murphy shortly behind with a 1 at 50.8. Samuel rounds out top 3 with a 1 at 52.6. See total P's. Comes round the back straight. What sort of time will we see from Total P's? Had a good race yesterday at Spa in TNR. Oh, slightly bit of kick there from me. Choosing to stay fairly central compared to other drivers who have taken the left-hand race line, sorry. And he goes across the line with a 1 at 52.0, 6/10 ahead of his teammate. ZMU F1 shortly follows him with a 1 at 51.9. And in the meantime, TNR has also set a 1 at 51.7. So just under a second separating first and third at the moment. Dan Murphy, a driver with a 150, as it looks like Seb had almost spun there. But we shall wait to see. Who have we got approaching there? Let's jump on board with Nosey as he comes around the back section into 7th gear almost. There we are. Riding the gears very, very highly as we approach the finishing line. James has set a 154.1 and Nosey with a 152.5 seating into P6. Fishers is on his flyer for the first time this session, down into 2nd gear. So see, it's a 39.7 for the first sector, which is purple currently. Can he keep this pace up? And he's usurped Dan Murphy at the top of the timesheet. We have yellow flag in sector 2 again, but that seems to be once again into the tight left right of the castle now. Lovely little line. Shift the car right. going down to first gear. We've seen some drivers take that in second gear, but Fisher's choosing to use first gear. Onto the back section now. Long flowing left-hander. A little bit wider than I think he would have liked there. Back on the power now, ready to open up for the final sector. What sort of time will this be from Fisher's? We currently have Dan Murphy on pole for this session with a 150.8. Oh, and Fisher loses it on there. Just possibly dabbed the throttle too early. As he comes across the line, or is he going to pit? And he goes into the pit lane. Regan looking like he's about to come out on a set of soft tyres. Mediums now, what we saw as Stringy crosses the line with a 2:04. Looks like there's a bit of a mistake. BOP coming through with a 153.7. As we go on board with, who should we go on board with? The current only driver is Stringy. It's a question as to whether he's got enough fuel for a second run. It's a 40.7, so he's 2/10 up on his first lap time and goes purple in sector 1. Nice tight line. Opting for second gear, unlike his teammate Fisher's, who was first gear around that section of the track. Round the lovely back section of the circuit. Oh, he takes a lot of curb, and as I said earlier, you might not want to take that much, as you will be thrown into the wall, as we have just seen there with Stringy. Despite being 9 seconds up on his time, he will probably have to pit. As you can see, he has lost a lot of his front wing. That will not help around a circuit like Baku. Tiach back out for his lap again. Is he going to lose his end plate this time? Oh, he does. He repeats himself. That front end plate from Tiach's car, not liking that corner at this circuit. He approaches the final straight now. What will he do again? On the corner, who's that? That's open, great little toe there from Tiach. Will that make up for the time he lost in clipping the wall though, as he crosses the line in a 152.666, which puts him P8. Ooh, taking a lot of the wall on his exit there. Now remember, in Q2 we lose positions 11 to 15. Unfortunately we lost Indigo in the Q1 where he hit the wall, so it's P11s to 14. Currently we have Stringy, Fishers, Regan and Jonathan, with Fishers, Regan and Jonathan yet to set a lap time in this session. With 5 minutes to go as well, will we see James, BOP, Tiach and Samuel all coming out again, as they are the 7 to 10 and at risk. But even Nosey may be at risk, as we see him on another out lap for his qualifying run. Through the back section now, as we see James has left the session. Can only assume that is some sort of connectivity issue. So here we are then on board with Nosey as he approaches the back straight for his flying lap. 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go in this session. As we coming out onto the back straight, lovely camera angle there of this long straight. We ride on board now with Nosey into the tight 90-degree turn 1, down into 4th and 3rd. open that car out as you build up towards turn 2. Another tight left-hander. Back down into third. On the throttle now for this second DRS zone. Or first DRS zone, depending on which way you look. Into the back straight now. How is he doing? Sector 1, he is 7 thousandths up on his previous best. Where's Knowlesy going to be now? Approaching the castle section. The tight left right of 8, 9 and 10. Turn 11 and 12, nicely taken. Turns 13 and 14 don't look like much, but if you get that line wrong they can be deadly, as we have seen. Into turn 15. As we approach now the second sector end and turn 14. As this goes purple in sector 2. This looks like a good lap from Knowlesy. How is he going to fare on this back straight? So approach turns 18, 19 and 20. Through the final corner and now onto the back straight, deciding to stay right, gradually left. He crosses the line in a 1:52, so he improved by 4/10 but stays in P6. Now, does he have enough fuel for a second lap, or will he be done for this session? As Tiach has hit the wall. What's going on there with Jem and Regan? As they have hit the wall, and we see 5-place grid penalty for BOP. Possibly for Regan as well. That looks like it is Regan possibly out of this session. Has he got a front wing? Is he going to be able to set a time? We shall see. No, Regan does not have a front wing, so looks very much like Regan could be out of this qualifying session with just 40 seconds left. Jonathan Cox seems to have been caught up in that as well. Is that a front end plate missing? No, it is not. He looks to have got away with that just fine. So we see BOP was given a 5-place penalty despite being in P9, and as you can see there, he has also lost part of his front wing. So with 15 seconds left of this session, who is currently at risk? It is Stringy, Fishers, Regan and Jonathan Cox. The bottom 3 yet to set a time. Oh, and Fishers loses it again, as we see. Is that going to cost him his position in Q3? We shall see as he approaches the line. 8th gear, qualifying is now done. This is it. What has Fishers managed to do? It is a 1:52.6 by the skin of his teeth. Is he safe? Stringy, what does Stringy do? Stringy goes P10. BOP, what can he manage? He is 19 seconds up, so I can only assume he will be pitting. And it looks very much like we have found our drivers that have left us for Q2. BOP, James, Regan and Jonathan. Regan and Jonathan yet to set the time in this session, but they put on the medium tyres, which looked very hopeful considering the rain seems to have dried up. So we shall see. So then, as we go on board, BOP, no. So the top 10 are all safe, but they are some on their flying lap. Where will they end up, or will they decide to box? GFO Seb invalidated his lap, so he will probably be boxing. TNR coming around. Oh, he clips the wall again. We see another driver clip that wall on the exit. So we come now to the back straight. He is currently P3. Will he improve, or will he stay where he is? Looks like he has no front wing. He has no end plate again. He crosses the line. Nope, he boxes by the looks of things. What about total Ps? Where does he come across the line, or is he going to box as well? Oh, he seems to have entered low fuel mode. I can only assume that is why he has stopped there. So we have our top 10 for this Baku City Circuit race today. Dan Murphy up at the top of the timesheets with GFO Sep again, TNR Oni Oli, ZNU F1, Total Ps, Nolsey, Samuel, Tiach, Fishers and Stringy round out the top 10. We say goodbye to BOP among others. Regan and Jonathan yet to set times in this session, despite it looking promising on their medium tyres. So as you can see, there's a 5-place grid penalty for BOP, so he will be starting P16. So as we go into this third qualifying session, the weather looks to have dried up. Will we see the soft tyres compound come out to play? We shall see. As I said, we are fortunate enough to have James join us again after being kicked. Regan and Jonathan unfortunately being unable to set a lap time. There is the grid penalty for BOP. It's an interesting Q3 we have lined up here. The likes of Evil Hunter, Young Stinson among those who may feel they would have had a good shot at pole had they not been caught out in there. Same goes for Indigo, who we lost, who had made it through to Q2 but was unable to set it. So Q3, 12 minutes. Who is going to be on pole as we approach the start of Q3 and the first driver on track? Looking down the Baku pit lane, who's it going to be? As we await this, and we can see 4 drivers out at once, and it looks like one of the Alfa Romeos has made it out first, and that is Nolsey. So Nolsey holds the track position. Those red wool soft tyre compound fitted to his Alfa Romeo. Who have we got? We have got Tiach in the pit still. GFO Seb once again one of the first drivers out. Stringy B, Total Ps, ZNU F1, TNR only out, and Nolsey the drivers currently ready for their flying laps. Be expecting to see some faster times than the 150s that we have seen so far in qualifying sessions. Q3 is all about how fast you can get your car around this circuit. As I mentioned earlier, in Q2 with dry conditions you usually set your race strategy, and Q3 then becomes all about track position. So as we come through the castle section, what can we do? Round turn 12, and looking towards the very, very tidy 13 and 14. Now in the dry you would expect a lot more curb taken in turn 15. How does Nolsey approach it? As you can see, he approaches it with a bit of caution but takes more curb than they would in the wet. And here we go then onto the back straight, round turn 17, 18 and 19. And the flick of the steering wheel round turn 20. What sort of time can we see from Nolsey? DRS open up for the first time in this qualifying session. Who have we got behind him? GFO Seb there in the distance. Into 5th gear, 6th gear. Down into 3rd gear for turn 2. Open up the DRS again, up as we approach turn 3. I'm going to take a nice tight line close to the wall. Let's open up wide, lovely exit there. Into 5 and 6. He approaches at the end of sector 1, and Samuel has retired from this session. He has apparently hit the wall. I can only imagine that Samuel has hit the wall on the exit of turn 1, which is very unfortunate, so he will be starting P10 as we go back on board with Nolsey. Through the back section, out of turn 12 into 13 and 14. How much curb does he take of turn 15? A lot of curb. out of turn 15 as we approach the end of sector 2. Down round turn 16. As much power as you can get through 16, 17, 18 and 19. Flick the steering wheel at turn 20 once again, staying left towards the flag. Where does he come round this corner? DRS open, ERS 5, turbo, Richmond I'm assuming at max. And he sets a 138.6 and GFO Seb goes fastest with a 137.9. He has got 7/10 on Nosey. Total P's P3 138.9. Who will be next to cut the beam? It's one of the Mercedes. It looks like it's Stringy. Where does Stringy go? 140.0. Fishers 138.4 into P2. So we see a Ferrari wide there. Who else have we got? Dan Murphy goes 4th. ZNFU1 5th. TH now approaches the final DRS zone and he backs out of the lap. I don't know what has gone on there unless he has lost his wing. So TNR only out still in the pit lane for this session. So with the first set of laps set, GFO Seb currently sits on provisional pole. Fishers is 2nd, Nosey 3rd. The two McLarens sit 4th and 5th. Total P's in 6th. 7th is Stringy B ahead of Tiach, who has boxed without setting a lap time. Samuel Watt unfortunately seems to have hit the wall on the exit of turn 1 and lost his wheel, I can assume. And as we see, TNR only out comes out of the pit lane. As we have had a wet qualifying so far, I can assume there are extra sets of softs that the drivers would have used during Q1 and potentially Q2. So, how many laps will we see? Will we see 2 laps or will we see 3 laps? We have 6 minutes and 22 seconds left. As we stick on board now with Oni Al, as he is on his out lap for his first flying lap. As we approach the castle section of 8, 9 and 10. Through the left-hander of 12. Opening out on the throttle for turns 13 and 14. Into the back. So not a lot of curb taken there from TNR as we come around the final corner of sector 2, around 16, into 17, 18, 19, building up speed as you go. As you can see, I expect the ERS to go up any second now, currently on 0. Rich Mix max with this Red Bull car. DRS open now, up into overtake mode as we go across the line with Oni Al into the left-hander of turn 1, down into 3rd gear. Open up the throttle onto 4th, 5th, up into 6th. Will he hit 7th gear or will he stay and go down? There he goes down into 2nd gear, up into the 2nd DRS zone. In 7th gear, 8th gear. Hitting speeds of 200 as he approaches the corner down into 3rd gear of turn 4. Now, as it approaches turns 5 and 6, what sort of first sector time? It's a 34.7 in the first sector as he takes the exit of turn 6 and 7. To approach turn 8 now. Through the section, nicely does it as we have this side cockpit cam. Look at the steering wheel left there in 2nd gear. Coming back out now onto the back section of this Baku City Circuit. 4 minutes and 7 seconds to go. Doesn't take a lot of curb in turn 15. As he approaches sector 3, he hits a 114.6 so far for TNR. Back now into this final long stretch of the circuit. 3.7 kilometers, remember, this circuit, one of the longest on the calendar. As we open DRS, 206 miles an hour. Oh, and he backs out of the lap. didn't seem like anything had gone wrong there. Interesting to see what happens now. 3 minutes and 30 seconds. It is getting down to crunch time as we see Stringy and Tiach on their outlaps. Tiach yet to set a time in this session. Stringy B currently 7th with a 1:40.1. Both on their outlaps, both with their end plates intact, luckily. Tiach DRS open as he crosses the line. Overtake 4. Rich Mix hot lap 5. Around into the second left-hander at turn 2. 90 degrees as you shift the car left. First DRS zone of the lap. Nice and straight. We'll see hopefully a lot of overtakes here today, but hopefully remember the braking zone quite strict and a tight left-hander as we come now into turn 5 and 6 shortly. Here we go then, left through turn 5, right through turn 6. Approaching the lovely left-hander into the castle section at turn 7. Shifting down into second or first gear depending on how you like to drive. Back up through turns 8 and 9. Round the right-hander of 11. Shift it left for 12. Back on the power as we come out now, approaching the kinks of 13 and 14. How will Tiach approach turn 15, sorry. Takes less of the curb than you would imagine in this circuit. As we approach now, sector 2, 1:15.2 so far. How much speed and time can he gain during this final sector of this circuit? 1 minute 35 left to go. And as we can see, most of the drivers are now on an outlap. This will be to determine who sits on pole position here at Baku. What time does Tiach achieve? He puts himself P7 with a 1:39.2. Will he have enough fuel for another lap? I don't think so personally, but it's up to Tiach whether he knows. Who's we on board now? Stringy, as he approaches his final time in this session. What can he achieve? He stays left towards the wall as tight as you can get, which is the preference, and he goes 8th and stays 8th. He improves on his time by 5 tenths, but it looks like he will be as Nosey. Has Nosey hit the wall? What has happened to Nosey? That is his participation over for this session. I can't see on my mini-map. I can only assume he ran out of time. As we ride on board now with Dan Murphy. As we approach the left-hander of turn 3. Back on the power now, approaching turn 4. Into the sector 1, and he's 2 tenths up on his previous time as he comes out of 5 and 6, approaching 7. As qualifying 3 is officially over, we wait now for the drivers to all complete their laps to see can anyone usurp GFO Seb, who is looking to redeem himself, I assume, after yesterday's race at Spa. Dan Murphy now approaching the back end of sector 2. As Tiach finishes and his session. But it looks like NFU1, who is 6 tenths up, approaching the final corner and the final part of this circuit. Where can he put that Papaya McLaren? He goes provisional pole with a 1:37.9. Who is going to be next across the line? It looks like it's going to be Dan. Where can Dan put that fellow McLaren? Will he beat his teammate? Crossed the line with a 1:38.1. It's 5 tenths faster, but it can only go P3. Who is next? GFO Seb. 6 thousandths behind. Can he beat his time? He only goes second with a 1:37.9. There are 6 thousandths in it on pole. Can anyone beat it? Fisher's using a toe from his teammate there. 1:38.0 puts him P3. Total Ps now coming around that back section. Can he improve on his P7 for this race today? Overtake mode, ERS, rich mix, low fuel, and where does he go? I cannot see just yet. He going and goes P6, so it is ZNUF1 who is on pole position for this race today. GFO Seb is a very close second by 0.006 of a second, and Fishers is only 56 hundredths of a second behind them. How close can it be? Dan Murphy in 4th, TNR in 5th, total P6, Knowlesy 7th, TH 8, Stringy goes P9, and Samuel unfortunately hit the wall, starts P10 today. So, very quick times there on those softer compound tyres. Now remember, for the race today it was a wet qualifying for Q2, so the top 10 have free reign choice of tyres, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of strategy they go for in this race. And according to Indigo, Stinson crashed in Q1, as it was a laugh from Stinson when Indigo crashed, so blamed on karma there. So what a lap from ZNUF1, putting that McLaren on pole position. His teammate Dan Murphy in 4th, and in between them the Renault of GFO Seb and the Mercedes of I Fishers. Who of those top 4 drivers will potentially take the softer compound to start this race? Who of the top 10 will possibly take the softer compound tyres? I'm expecting to see the alternate strategy for positions 11 downwards, possibly because they can go longer into race, and you never know what can happen on this Baku City as we see the drivers lining up for the formation lap. So to run you through the grid, it is ZNUF1 on pole, GFO Seb in the Renault in 2nd, Fishers and Dan Murphy are row 2. Row 3 is the Red Bull of TNR only early and the Ferrari of Total Ps. Knowlesy starts P7 with TH alongside him in P8, Stringy in 9th, Samuel in P10, James in 11th, Regan 12th and Jonathan 13th, Indigo P14, Benny P15, BOP drops to 16th with that 5-place grid penalty. Then we've got 17 is Jim Strav, and we have young Stinson P18, sorry. Expect a very interesting race from him today. LPE P19 and Evil Hunter in the Williams rounds off the back of the grid in P20. So as we can see on ZNUF1's car, he has gone for the yellow medium tyres. GFO Seb has mediums too. Fishers mediums. Dan Murphy mediums. I will be surprised to see any of the top 10 on softs, as we've got hards on Regan in 12th and Jonathan in 13th. Mediums for Indigo and Benny. Softs, there you are. The first soft one is P16 with a BOP. Maybe a 2-stopper from him today. Jim Strav takes the mediums, Young Stinson mediums, LPE and Evil Hunter has the white or silver hardwood tyres. So it's 26 laps of this Baku City circuit then today, as we come to the back sector, round turn 16. As you can see, drivers weaving to get temperature into those tyres. Who will make the first move going into that first corner? Will ZNUF1 be able to keep that Papaya McLaren in front, or will GFO Seb from the front row? Will we see challenges from the drivers behind? Dan Murphy, one to watch out for. Fishers, one to watch out for. All the top 10 ones to watch out for as we approach this WNR race here at Baku City Circuit as part of the Red Line Racing community. Who will win as we see the drivers now approaching the grid, making sure that their tyres are up to temperature as we line up now. And we'll wait to see 3 drivers there. Unfortunately, making contact means they can't warm up their tyres fully. So we will go on board now with Evil Hunter, the last driver on the grid. Where will they end up come the 26 laps of this circuit? 70 or 80 roughly kilometers through this race. As they now line up and we wait for Evil Hunter as he joins the back of the grid. 20 cars, 26 laps. Baku City Circuit as we see the lights come on now. We're waiting for those 5 red lights. As we see them now. 5 red lights, and we are racing here at the Baku City Circuit. Who has got the better start? Is it GFO Seb? Is it ZNU F1? ZNU makes it through the first corner. Have we all made it through that scathe? They seem to make it very clean through that race as GFO Seb takes the lead into the left hand at turn 2. Who else is making a move? Regan up to P9. Stringy up to P9 as GFO Seb has turned P1. Where are we at the back of the grid? Benny Boy drops GFO Seb as we approach turn 4 and approaching the end of the first sector. Who has made the most gains? As we have a yellow flag back down. Who is that? It looks like it's James. Has he lost his front wing? Has he hit the wall? We don't know. We shall find out. It's GFO Seb now. Comes round into the castle section. Ahead of ZNU F1, Only Ours moved his way up into 3rd, followed by Fishers, Dan Murphy, Total P's, Nolsey in 7th, Samuel up into P8, Stringy and Indigo already up into P10. Followed by Regan and Jonathan, who have both made a place each. The biggest mover so far on this lap seems to be Young Stinson, already P14. Tiach down 8 to P16. James obviously down into P20 and he has lost his front end plate. So back on board with GFO Seb, who has taken the lead of this race on the first lap. Where does he finish? We shall see in 25 laps time. He has pulled out half a second to ZNFU1 already. TNR up 2 into 3rd, a further 5 tenths back. Fishers in 4th. Dan Murphy 4 tenths behind in 5th. Pease 6. 5 tenths behind. GFO Seb goes fastest as you'd expect. Who's that into the pits already? Fishers into the pits. What has happened there? We can only assume it's damage. Will he change the strategy? We don't know yet. Oh, as we have an Alfa Romeo going wide there, it's Nolsey, who has retired from this session. What has gone on there? All I saw was him going slow out of turn 1 and pulling to the side. Who's that? LPE in for a wing change. GFO Seb remains in lead. TNR has overtaken ZNFU1 into P2. Dan Murphy now behind his teammate in P4. 8 tenths back. The 2 Ferraris, 5 and 6. Indigo already up 7 places to P7. Stringy, Regan and Jonathan round out the top 10 as we see what tyre compounds everybody is on. Only one soft compound being run today and that is on there as we see the VSC is out. So we have managed to escape an actual safety car on the first lap, but we do have a virtual one. Driver speed are limited. Is that a missing end plate on Oni Al? We do not know. He is indeed missing a front end plate as we get back up to racing speed. That will be a loss of downforce for TNR. What has gone on there? Dan Murphy all over the gearbox of his teammate with Total P's not far behind. GFO Seb already pulling out a second almost to TNR in at P2. ZNFU1 has dropped to 2 seconds behind now. Will Dan Murphy make a move going down this back straight as BOPEM has left the session, assuming that is once again a connectivity issue. Here we are now, Dan Murphy all over the back of his teammate. Will he make a move into the left-hander of turn 1? He does. Does he leave the room? That is very clean racing there as Dan moves up into P2. We have another yellow flag in sector 1. What has happened there? Samuel, is that him? We don't know. GFO Seb is down into P7. He must have had a mistake because we did not see that on stream. So he will now be looking to push his way back up past other drivers. So TNR leads then on lap 3, but he does have a missing right front wing end plate. Dan Murphy is up to P2 with 1.6 seconds now behind. Total P's up to P3. ZNFU1, who was pole, is now down to P4. Indigo, really big mover in these opening laps, is up to P5. Samuel up from P10. GFO Seb, as we saw, must have made a mistake and is now down to P7. Stringy 8, Regan 9 on those harder tyres. How far can Regan and Jonathan go on this strategy? Will they be going hard to softs, or will they be doing the hard mediums? We shall see. Jim up to P12, as we see the BOPEM car there, who has left the session. James in P15. Fishers, after pitting onto the soft compound, is he's on the hard, sorry, is P16. Young Stinson, soft tyres, P17. Tiach, softs as well. LPE, 18 seconds back with the hard. So we ride on board now with TNR as we approach the 4th lap of this race. Dan Murphy closed the gap ever so slightly in the race. He has now dropped total P's by a second. ZNFU F1 is now making a move on the outside of total P's as it's very tight into that corner. Is there a little clip on the back wheel there on total P's? He keeps the position, but we shall see as we come now. DRS will possibly be open from ZNFU F1 as we have another yellow flag in sector 1. It's Samuel by the looks of it, who has lost his front wing end plate. We're now back on board with ZNU F1. And he still remains behind total P's, but remember DRS is now open and has been, so we will expect to see some moves on the long back straights and the second DRS zone. We are riding on board with the pole sitter, who is down in P4 ZNFU1, as we see Evil Hunter making a move on Regan into turns 5 and 6. Will he catch Jonathan? No, he won't. He possibly catching for a DRS. Dan Murphy has got the gap down. It is now 5/10 at the front of this race. Will he be in range for DRS? One will assume so. And can he make the move stick if so? Remember, TNR has front wing damage. He is missing his front right end plate. They have dropped total P's now by 2 seconds in P3. So currently on the medium tyres, the top 7 runners, harders for the rest of the top 10. Those on the softer tyres were in incidents on that first lap. Dan Murphy now, will he open DRS? Will he have enough speed? Overtake mode on the ERS. You can assume Rich Mix is running as well. He looks just a bit too far back as he sets the fastest lap of the race so far, close, but Indigo takes that way as Indigo makes a move. Can he get it done? He's got past ZNU, and on the exit, can he get past total P's into the left-hander of turn 2? He can. Can he make it stick? Oh, a bit wide there from P's. What about Dan Murphy? Is he close enough to TNR? As he makes a move down the inside, he's just a bit too far back. Total P's loses another position to ZNFU1. ZNUF1. Apologies for getting your name wrong there, as Young Stinson has just set the fastest lap of the race down in P16 on that set of fresh soft tyres. So 5 laps of this race now completed, and we are looking at the battle for P1 between TNR, O'Neill and Dan Murphy. Remember, Dan Murphy started 4th and O'Neill started, I believe, as he goes a bit wide in the castle section there. As Dan Murphy 3/10 behind. They have now dropped Indigo by almost 3 seconds. Dan Murphy probably just eyeing up that move on the back straight through 17, 18, 19 and 20 before opening the DRS as we cross the line. So we'll stay on board then with this battle for P1 as we come round turn 16. Will Dan Murphy get this move done? As we flip the car left and right through this, as LP is given a 5-second penalty for crossing their pit lane entry lines. As Dan Murphy, and TNR pits by the looks of things. Is he pitting? No, he stays left and allows Dan Murphy to take the lead of this race. So lap 6, we have a new leader in Dan Murphy. Will he now be able to pull away from TNR O'Neill? Apologies once again. Indigo up to P3, 2 seconds behind. ZNUF1 is P4. He's moving into P3 with DRS open. What about GFO Seb? How close is he? not close enough. Remember, GFO Seb was in P1 but has seemingly made a mistake and now sits in P5 in that lovely looking Renault. Total Ps is P6, Evil Hunter P7 on the harder tyres. How much further can he go than those medium runners in front of him? Remember, he started P20 on the grid after crashing out in Q1. Stringy separates the other hard runners from Evil Hunter in Jonathan and Regan, both up into the top 10. Samuel has dropped to 11th. Then you have James, Benny Boy, Jim, Young Stinson, Fishers, TH, BOP, LPE and Nosey has unfortunately retired. So back on board now with the race leader Dan Murphy, who has pulled out 1 second as we see GFO Seb has overtaken Indigo into the turn. Oh, that's a very, very wide crossed line from Indigo into turn 15, who has lost his wing. So I can assume he will be pitting this lap. That looks like a very big impact on his wing. So will we see Total Ps now capitalise on that mistake from Indigo? Back into turn, flick it right in turn 20. DRS will be available for Total Ps. It's open as we see Evil Hunter coming past his teammate as well in a minute as Indigo enters the pits. What sort of tyres will he put on? So see Indigo given a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. As we see a couple of drivers now making the most of that. Lap 7 of this Baku City circuit race. Dan Murphy the leader, but TNR has caught up by a few tenths and sits within DRS range, but once again we're reminded that he's got front wing damage and that will compromise his downforce going through some of the higher speed corners. ZNUF1 is now 2 seconds back with Seb 1 second catching him. Total Ps is P5. So as we go down to Indigo, he has opted for the softer tyres in P16. As we jump on board with a lovely camera angle from Dan Murphy's McLaren as we approach lap 8 of this Grand Prix here at RRC WMR. Pulled out a bit of a gap now to TNR, who is 1.7 seconds back as we see GFO Seb now within DRS range of ZNUF1. Will this be another expected overtake with the DRS? We shall see. Around turn 17, 18, 19 and 20 in that Renault car. The DRS is now open from Seb. Will he be able to get past ZNUF1 on this straight, or will he have to wait for the first DRS zone after turn 2? We shall see as we ride on board now with Seb into the left-hander at turn 2. DRS on, overtake mode on the ERS. Will he be using Richfield Mix, you can imagine, using in the slipstream now all over the gearbox of ZNUF1, and down the inside he goes for a lovely overtake into turn 4. We go. Approaching the chicane off as we have a yellow flag in sector 1. Who is that? Is it Samuel again who has overshot his braking zone, or has he hit the wall? We shall see. He has lost both of his front wing end plates there, so that will be another pit stop as Fishers has ditched his harder tyres already on lap 8 for the medium tyres. How far can they get him into this race? As we jump on board now with Dan Murphy, a further second now pulled out on TNR only Ollie. He is 2.7 seconds clear with that McLaren. As we approach the final corner at turn 16. Well, as we have a safety car as TH has seemingly left the session. Has he made a mistake? Indigo has left the session as well. What is that? Is that a connection issue? Total Ps has left the session as well. What is going on here as the safety car is causing havoc? We have lost 3 drivers for connection as Samuel is given a speeding penalty under the safety car. So this safety car gives the chances for Fishers among others at the back of this field who have made pit stops to catch up again. As we see several drivers, here come that the race leaders in, TNR's in, GFO Seb is in. NFU1 is in, but will they have to double stack? They have. Will that cost them time? You see Evil Hunter here comes up to P3 on 8 lap old hards with Jonathan Cox there as well. Regan up to P6 so far. We shall see as this safety car period. Dan Murphy retaining his lead behind that safety car. So while we've got time, let's have a look. 10 laps and almost into this Grand Prix, and we see the gap to the leader is 7/10 behind the safety car. Fastest lap currently is from Young Simpson down in at P15. That was set on those softer tyres. And as we see the biggest movers of this Grand Prix so far, Evil Hunter, who started P20 on those harder compound tyres, is up into P2. GFO Seb is in P3. Jonathan Cox and Regan, who both as well decided to start on that hard wall tyre, are up to 4th and 5th. Total Ps is 6th. CNR is 7th. ZNUF1 is one of the biggest losers so far, down 7 to P8. Indigo up to P9. TH is 10th. And the current last point scorer in this race. Fisher's one of the big losers so far, down 13 positions in P16. 2 stops already, I believe. Yes, as we can see there, him and Stinson, with LPE already pitting 4 times. And that is one of the dangers back. If you catch that wing, you are in big trouble. So lap 9 under the safety car, and Dan Murphy leads this Grand Prix, as most of the cars are now running the harder tyres. All but 3 cars then on those harder tyres, with Indigo, TH on the softs and Fishers on the mediums. Remember, in dry races you have to run 2 compounds of soft tyre. Most of ours have already run the mediums and or softs and are now on the hard tyres. So where, oh where will this race go? We have only lost 1 runner so far today, and that was Nosey on the first lap. As we see Evil Hunter dive into the pit lane. What is his strategy going to be now? We also have Jonathan Cox in. We also have Regan in at the pit lane. Indigo comes into the pit lane. 5 runners then. Who is the other? Young Stinson into the pit lane. Is this race now about strategy under the safety car, or will Dan Murphy keep his lead for the remainder of this race? We shall see. As we now look to when the safety car will come in. How many more laps will we stay here? It's all important about keeping the heat in your tyres, but you don't want to make too much of a mistake where you will hit the wall, or you don't want to overwear your tyres. As we look here now at TH in P6 on that softer compound tyres. 6-7 laps old. Will he be able to capitalise on the start? As we see Indigo going back up through the field. Interesting to see what's going on there, as he comes up into P8. So Dan Murphy then at front of this queue of cars, as Indigo is given a 5-second penalty for colliding with string B. Does he have front wing damage? We shall see. I'm unsure as what is going on there with Indigo, as he has overtaken the safety car, which is very unusual for this type of thing. As Indigo is disqualified from the session for ignoring yellow flags. Very, very interesting to see what has happened there. So we will now see another lap behind the safety car here at Baku City Circuit. Dan Murphy currently sits in P1 as Indigo has been disqualified. GFO Seb in P3, which is net P2. and Total P's currently around out to the podium. You can see there Dan trying to keep those harder compound tyres warm and not wear them out too much. So once again, just to check on the positional changes, Dan Murphy is up from P4 into next P1. Seb has dropped from P2 to P3, but that will be P2 on the restart. Indigo has been disqualified and is still not left the session. Total P's up to P3. TNR has managed to fix that wing damage under the VSC, so he is possibly quite glad about that. There is our pole sitter ZNUF1. We've then got Tiach, Stringy, Benny, James, Jim Strath, Fishers, Evil Hunter, Jonathan Cox, Regan, Young Stinson, Samuel back down in P17 after a strong qualifying, LPE after his 4 pit stops, and BOP sits at the back of the grid. I can only assume that this will be the last lap under the safety car, so as we come now to turn the castle section at 9 and 10. Be expecting to see a safety car in this lap. What a lovely camera angle that was of the train of cars. There we go then. Is this when the safety car comes in? As we wait and see. Through turn 15 we go. Is the safety car going to be in this lap? We shall see. Here we go then. Safety car in this lap. Dan Murphy now controls the pace. What will he decide to do? Giving space to the safety car is number one, but how does he approach this? Does he back the cars up? As the tow here from P1 is very, very, very handy to those cars behind him. Will we see GFO Seb making a move into the left-hander at turn 1? We shall see. It's all about when Dan decides to put his foot down. Look out for GFO, look out for Piers, look out for TNR, look out for ZGNUF1. Several cars here. Will we see a move into turn 1? We shall see. As we ride on board now with Dan, waiting for him to put the power down. Here he goes, 7th gear, approaching turn 1, as we are now back racing on lap 13 of this Baku Grand Prix. As Indigo is still out on track despite being disqualified. So we are currently looking at P1, as GFO Seb is P2, Total P's in P3, TNR P4, ZNUF1 in P5, as we have a yellow flag in Sector 1. Once again, who is that this time? Is it Samuel? Has dropped back to the grid. LPE and Young Stinson there. Oh, it's very tight into that corner there. He has made moves so far. We shall see as we come up to the top of the grid. Dan Murphy through the castle section. Dan Murphy pulling out almost a second to GFO Seb. Remember that there is no DRS for the first 2 laps under the safety car period. So it's all about that tow for Seb as we approach turn 15. Where is Seb? Seb is 1.064 seconds back from Dan Murphy. Is he within distance to use that tow? As we come around the last real turn at 16. Before flicking your car right, then left, then right. Will Seb be close enough to be able to use that tow from the McLaren? Across the line, he's probably just a bit too far back. If anything, Dan Murphy's managed to pull away from Seb and has now pulled out 3/10. But Pease has closed in to within a second on Seb. As we see, only Al is there behind him. And it goes almost 3 abreast into that corner. As Total P's now all over the back of GFO Seb. Will he make a move into turn 3? Oh, it's very close, but he does not. As we come around turn 4, Total P's has overtaken Seb now. With only out all over the gearbox of that Renault. But will GFO Seb make another move? Very careful, as you see in the far distance there, the race leader Dan Murphy pulling away now from this pack. 3 seconds is the gap through the castle section. How close will GFO Seb get? Oh, it's very close to the gearbox there of Total P's around this section of turn 12. Oh, and we have a VSC as James is out of the Grand Prix. Where has he gone out? It looks like he has gone out at the castle section of 9 and 10. He has probably clipped that wall a little bit too much. Can we see from BOPs? Yes, he is obviously out according to that turn 9. So VSC out for the second car today. Out for the second time today, sorry, with 1 full safety car. So Dan Murphy now 4.6 seconds in the front of Total P's. GFO Seb a second DRS zone, he is within. TNR half a second behind Seb, as we are back at racing speed now. Will GFO Seb make a move? He pulls to the right hand side of Total P's. Does he have the inside one? And he brakes nicely, and oh, there's contact! There's contact as P's loses a front end plate to GFO Seb. Puts a bit wide as TNR is closing in on the back of Total P's. They'll both be looking to use a slipstream from Seb. Will TNR make a move? Will P's make a move? Oh, P's goes very, very wide in that corner, and he loses a place to TNR with ZNUF1 all over him now. Dan Murphy's second is now 5 seconds ahead of GFO Seb in the Renault. Both on fresh hard tyres, pitted at the same time under ZNUF1 that makes the move on Total P's. I Fishers, after his pit stops, is up to P7 on the meter. Oh, as Total P's loses his other end plate, that will surely be a pit stop for the Ferrari driver, who has left the session and will probably retire from this race. So Fisher's now up to P6. He will be looking to chase down that 2-second gap on ZNUF1. As Jonathan Cox makes a move on Evil Hunter there for P10 and the last points position. Looking down the grid, Evil Hunter, Benny Boy, BOP, Young Stinson is still P14, Regan is P15, LPE, Tiach and Samuel, the last of our remaining runners. Remember, Indigo is technically disqualified, but for some reason it's still in the race. So Dan Murphy is net P1, GFS is P2, TNR P3, ZNUF1 P4. Will there be any late changes? We are now on lap 15 of 26, over halfway on this Grand Prix in here in WNR. As Evil Hunter there making a move on him, and they're almost 3 abreast as they come towards turn 3. It's a late move, and Jonathan Cox is down the inside of Jim Strav, who has lost 2 positions there. As we now go back up to the front of the race with Dan Murphy, who is 279 seconds clear of GFO Seb now. How would he be feeling right now? 6-lap old hard tyres attached to that car. Can they take him to the end of the race, or will he need to stop again as he pulls out another 2 tenths through that second sector? As we see a few movers down at the lower ends. Young Stinson now up into P12 as he splits the Hasses on the lineups. We go back on board now with GFO Seb and TNR. The gap now up to 1.3 seconds. Further 1.6 is ZNFU1. Fishers now within a second of ZNUF1. DRS is open. Will probably be too far back, as you can see, for a move here, but will he make a move out of turn 2? We shall see, as the DRS will be used for the first time on this lap 16. Jonathan making a move there on Evil Hunter, who has pitted. As what tyres will he stick on? We shall see. As the Williams pulls into its pit box, he goes for the red wool soft tyres and a wing change. So he will be faster than most of these cars at the moment. As we now go on board with TNR, who is looking to close the gap now by GFO Seb, currently a 1.431 seconds back on that hard compound of tyre. As we have another yellow flag in sector 1. What has happened there? Has someone hit the wall? No, we are safe on that front. So back through the field we go. LPE back up to P13. Young Stinson now 16 seconds clear. Will he catch Jim before the end of this race? As we now are back on board with iFishers through this turn 15 and 16. He is now 2/10 behind the pole sitter ZNUF1. DRS will be available to him now into overtake mode on the ERS. As we see a Williams going slow on sector 1, which is indigo. So back on board now with iFishers. Pulls left of the McLaren and safely around into turn 1. But will ZNUF1 have the DRS for turn 2 and be able to utilise it? As we see that rear wing probably flip open, DRS open. But he looks just a bit too far back, considering Fishers is on the faster medium compound tyres. As justice is served and Dan Murphy now obtains P1 from the disqualified Indigo. What is the gap now? It was 5.5, it's now down to 5.2. So GFO Seb has gained 3/10 on Dan Murphy, but it is a constant lead of 5 seconds. So will Dan and GFO have the tyres to take them through to the end, or will, as I said earlier, be a strategy gamble that pays off for either one? The gap now below 5 seconds. TNR is dropped to 2 seconds now behind GFO Seb. Fishers approaching the back of that Red Bull Aston Martin car. 9 laps on that medium compound tyres. As we approach turn 16. With TNR gaining DRS from the Williams, I can assume. So there is the DRS for iFishers in the Mercedes. But TNR also has DRS, as I suspected. Fishers makes a move down the inside. Is there? Oh, it's tight, but TNR stays ahead. As we now come around to turn 2, we'll stay on board with these drivers, P3 and 4. iFishers trying to get past TNR only early, 97. The gap down to 4/10 of a second. As the disqualified car of Indigo overtakes iFishers in what only I can assume is Codemaster's logic. So as we approach 10 lap olds on these tyres, 8 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Dan Murphy currently P1 in the McLaren, 5.1 seconds ahead of GFO Seb in P2. The Red Bull of TNR only Ollie sits in P3 with iFishers in P4, 5/10 behind the disqualified Indigo. ZNUF1, our pole sitter, is in P5. Stringy is up to P6. Jonathan in P7. Benny in P8. Jim in P9. And Young Stinson rounds out the top 10. He will currently gain a point after starting in P17 following his qualifying crash. As we see Evil Hunter on the softs there coming through turns 11 and 12. LPE coming through turns 9 and 10 at the castle section, a further 10 seconds back. So Dan Murphy crosses the line. There's 7 laps to go in this Grand Prix. As we see, oh, O'Neill goes really wide in there. Oh, and he's into the wall. He's into the wall at turn 1. Luckily he manages to keep his car going, but that will be a pit stop required to change that front wing. Completely gone on the right hand side, as Jonathan Cox all over the back of Ollie now. Will Jonathan Cox make a move here as we approach turn 3? As the DRS flicks open, he is comfortably past that Red Bull. I can only assume there was a problem, as Ollie also misses his braking point. That will cost him dearly, you would imagine. But all that stemmed from Indigo's stricken Williams, despite the fact he has been disqualified. So back up to the front, and Dan Murphy's pulled out another second on GFO Seb, who is now 6 seconds back, both on the same tyre compound and both with the same tyre life. Can I Fishers close the gap? He is on those medium tyres, currently sitting in. Oh, as we see a bunch of wing flying there from Indigo. As Seb, what has happened to Seb? Has Seb hit the wall? What has happened there? Seb, he's completely missed the braking point. And if you look, Benny, and you can see the stricken Renault of GFO Seb, who's completely missed the braking point at turn 15. What on earth has happened there? So Dan Murphy now leads on lap 20 with an 8.4 second gap to I Fishers in second, with his teammate who's just overtaken Fishers to P2 as Fishers pits. What does he put on? It's that Red Bull soft compound tyres. With 6 laps to go, is the strategy gamble going to pay off? As we see 9 seconds now between Dan Murphy and his teammate, who are our current top 2 for McLaren. We then have Stringy in P3. Jonathan is up to P4. Benny is P6. What a lovely race for Benny. 7 is Fishers after that stop now. How quickly can he get through the field on those softer compound tyres? Jim with a brilliant race so far, up into P7. Young Stinson at P8. Evil Hunter P9, and LPE is into P10. And we see there Ollie make his pit stop for a fresh front wing. He sits in P11. Can he catch LPE for that final point today? As Total Ps rejoins us in this session, and TH BOPM have both unfortunately not been able to rejoin. So we ride on front now with Dan Murphy, 10 seconds the gap to his teammate, with Stringy a further 7 seconds behind ZNU F1. This looks like a very good race for McLaren indeed. Remember, Dan Murphy started P4, ZNU F1 started P1. Or as we have a yellow flag in sector 2, what is that for? It's a red racing point as LPE hits the wall again in that very, very deadly 9, 10, 11 section. And that will be another front wing as Ollie moves up into the final points position of this race. And a VSC is used for the third time today, I should say, as Benny Boy makes the pit lane strategy gamble. Will he put on those red wall soft tyres? I did not see clearly there. What did he put on? As Evil Hunter pits as well. So it is soft tyres for Benny Boy, and it is soft tyres for Evil Hunter as well. Remember, 5 laps to go. Everyone in front of them is on the hard and medium tyres. The VSC is currently out for LPE, hitting the wall at turns 9, 10 and 11. And he receives a drive-through penalty for Stringy B now, as he speeds under the safety car, as we are back up to racing speed. Samuel has retired from the session. Where is that? I believe that is coming around the final corner. We ride on board with TH to see if we can... There is the stricken Ferrari of Samuel in turn 19. Dan Murphy now only 9 seconds ahead of ZNU F1. Stringy B is in net 3rd place, but he does have that drive-through penalty. So that puts Jonathan, who's a second behind, into net P3. Fisher's in P5 on that soft compound tyres with 4 laps to go. Can he catch and potentially put himself on the podium? Jim having a very good race in P6. Young Stinson all over the back of that Renault now, as we see him in the slipstream. DRS opens up overtake mode of the ERS enabled, 211 miles an hour as he pulls to the left and looks to take the inside line for turn 1. And now Jim will have the DRS for turn 2, but can he get past young Stinson? We shall see. What a nice exit there from young Stinson as we ride on board with Jim now, but it looks like those medium compound tyres were enough for young Stinson, who moves up into P6. Back on board with Dan Murphy, 4 laps to go pretty much. He is now 10 seconds ahead of ZNU F1. Stringy still yet to serve his penalty. It'll be 2 laps remaining, but he has got Jonathan Cox all over that gearbox as we stay with this battle coming out of turn 12. Jonathan looking to take an inside line through 13 and 14. Will he make a move into turn 15? We shall see. He pulls to the left, but he just backs out. As we see now, he will have the DRS for the back straight, but approaching him very quickly is I Fishers, who will also have the DRS. So who will be P3 as we come out of this back straight? Will it be Stringy, will it be Jonathan, or will it be Fishers? If we ride on board with Jonathan, who splits the Mercedes currently. I Fishers now at the back of that train. DRS open for the 2 cars. Stringy stays out of the pit lane. Jonathan pulls right, and I Fishers sets the fastest lap. Stringy goes wide. Oh, he's taken Jonathan with him. Jonathan has lost his front end plate, and he looks to have been taken out by Stringy B as well. What happened there? As I Fishers now pulls through into P3 and moves onto the provisional podium with Jonathan Cox and Stringy there. It looked like Jonathan had the move on the outside, but Stringy almost seemed to miss his braking point. We shall see what happens now, because remember, Stringy has that drive-through penalty to serve, and you can only assume, as you can see there, he is missing his left front wing end plate and most of it too. What about Jonathan? Has he come out unscathed, or has he suffered? As we come through 5 and 6, you can see he is missing his front end plate on the right. So I Fishers now into P3, managed to escape clearly through that scrape, and he will be now chasing the McLaren of ZNU F1. 7.2 seconds the gap now as we approach lap 24 of 26 of Baku here in Azerbaijan. Remember, Dan Murphy currently leading this race as Jonathan Cox loses another position to youngsters. Who's that in the wall? Is that Stringy? Stringy looks to have hit the wall again as young Stinson now moves up into P4. What a brilliant drive from young Stinson. He is now into the 4th place. What will we see from Jonathan and Stringy? Will either of them box this lap with just 2 to go? As we can see, Jim is approaching them as well, as Jonathan does indeed pull into the pit lane. So does Stringy, which pushes Jim up into P5. But will Stringy be serving his penalty, or will he be pitting? We shall see. Don't forget, he currently has a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC. As we see, it is the drive-through penalty he has served. So, with 2 laps to go, Stringy B needs to pit for a new front wing, but does he or doesn't he? We shall see. As TNR overtakes Jonathan into P9. Jonathan comes out in P10 on a fresh set of soft tyres. Can he catch TNR? Evil Hunter started P20, now into P8 with 2 laps to go. Benny Boy and Jim 6th and 7th. We shall see. Young Stinson has a 12-second gap to the podium positions. Fishers is now closing in on ZNU F1. 5.6 seconds the gap. 2 laps to go. Dan Murphy, our leader, as he approaches the penultimate lap now of this race. On 15 laps on those harder compound tyres, as we see the disqualified Indigo go through into P1. Don't know what on earth has gone on there with Indigo and why his disqualified car has not been retired. But for now, as we see, TNR has overtaken Stringy alongside Jonathan for... Oh, as we have a yellow card and Stringy's disqualified, DNF, sorry. I can only assume that he has hit the wall. We shall ride on board with Regan to see if we can find out what has happened. He seems to have gone off at turns 13 and 14. Has he hit the wall? There it is. There is the stricken Mercedes of Stringy B. So, as we approach lap 26, we currently have Dan Murphy going through the castle section of 9 and 10 in our race lead. 12 seconds to his teammate in P2. P3 is I Fishers, now 5 seconds behind ZNUF1. P4 is Young Stinson. P5 is Jim. 7th, but is Benny Boy. 8th is Evil Hunter, but once again these are only behind Indigo, so apologies. 8th TNR only Ollie, who is under attack from Jonathan Cox. Will he make a move into the chicane at turns 5 and 6? They go to abreast and Jonathan is in front, but do we see a move down the inside? No. Well defended there from Jonathan as we approach the castle section of turns 8, 9 and 10. Remember, Jonathan on those fresh softs, so he should have the traction and speed to pull away now from TNR, but will TNR have the DRS in the final thing? As we now are on lap 26 of 26. Dan Murphy, the race leader. 12.3 seconds the gap to his teammate. Fishers, the gap is now down to 3.9 seconds. Young Stinson, 14 laps on those mediums in P4. Will Benny Boy make a move on Jim down this back straight? We shall see. DRS is open. ERS is on overtake as we have another yellow flag in sector 2. As we see Jim, oh, a slight turn touch there from the back wheel of Benny Boy sends Jim into a mini tank slapper, but he catches it well. Evil Hunter 3 seconds behind, looking to catch that Renault on this last lap. As we see Jonathan pulling away now from TNR only Ollie. Regan P10 currently with that last point available. Total P's P12, LPE in 13, BOP 614 and TH in 15. We have lost 5 runners today. Stringy, Samuel, GFO Seb, James and Nosey. So, as we ride on board now with the McLaren of Dan Murphy as he flicks his car round turn 20 to take the victory here at Baku City Circuit, as he finishes 13 seconds ahead of his teammate. So Dan Murphy there, what a brilliant drive, started P4 as he takes the win here. ZNU F1 crosses the line to take P2. Who has got P3? I Fishers is P3. Young 4, what a drive from Young Stinson. P17 he started. He is now up to P4 as he crosses the line with a medium compound tyres. So now we come on board with Benny Boy as he crosses the line to take P5. Remember, Indigo was disqualified, so ignore him on the left hand side. Evil Hunter, what a great drive, started P20 and finishes P8. Jonathan takes 9th. TNR, after a promising start, that wing damage cost him unfortunately. He takes P9. And who will take the final point on offer? Will it be Regan or will it be Total P's? The Ferrari all over the back, and Regan's gone wide. Regan has gone wide, which allows Total P's through, and that Ferrari takes what looks to be the last point on offer. As we watch from the helicopter cam now, that bright red Scarlet Ferrari cross the line, and we see LPE has retired. So as Regan approaches the finish line, we finish an amazing race here at the Baku City Circuit for WNR and RRC. Dan Murphy takes the victory for his McLaren team with his teammate ZNUF1 in P2. P3 is for I Fishers after a interesting start where he had to pit 3 times. So there we are then, WNR comes to a conclusion here at Baku City Circuit. We hope you enjoyed watching today and that you will like and subscribe to our channel. We race here 5 times a week, I believe. All races are streamed live on YouTube and Facebook. As we take a look at the final grid order then, Dan Murphy in P1, his teammate ZNUF1 in P2, Fisher's rounded out top 3, Stinson, Benny Boy, Jim, Evil Hunter, Jonathan, TNR and Regan round out the points for us today. So there it is, Azerbaijan. Remember, Indigo was disqualified from the session for ignoring yellow flags, so he will be excluded from the final results. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We will be back with Friday night racing. Thank you very much for joining.